Hey everybody, it's Adam from Encounter Wargaming. Today I'm going to teach you how to paint that flagstone base, use static grass, and also use little flower patches. So let's check it out. So last week we built this really cool flagstone base for a Stormcast Eternal dude on a crazy creature, riding a crazy creature. So yeah, like I don't know, it's a big one. It's like 50 mil oval kind of thing, 50-60 mil oval. And we built up the flagstone layers with the foam core. Taught you guys how to just like use the hot glue to your advantage to make the dirt piles look nice and natural, and then we just covered it in sand. So that's how you make a flagstone base, and now we're just going to paint it today. So teach you all the paints I use, all the different techniques. We're going to jump on and off the airbrush, and then we're just going to take it from start to finish. Just a pretty looking base. So let's get down on the paint table and really dig in. Alright, so here's our base. First things first, just want to cover it in a nice brown paint. Okay, so we don't play around here at Encounter Wargaming. I got a big bucket of house paint here. It's essentially the equivalent of dried bark, if you wanted to get a GW equivalent. But, you know, this is much cheaper for a lot more paint. So here we go. And look, the lid is its own very convenient palette. Wonderful. So let's not muck about. Let's just take a big fat brush. Here we go. We got one nice big fat brush, and let's just slather that on. Now this stuff is great because it's water based and it's nice and thick. It helps keep the sand on it. And so there you go. Just cover the whole thing. Should only take us a couple more seconds, get her all done, and then we'll wait for that to dry. And in camera time, that'll take about, 1 second to dry. But for all y'all folks at home, it might take a few minutes. So, here we are, getting all in those deep crevices there. Be liberal about it, just throw it around. Okay, almost there. Now, because I want this to dry fast, I'm going to even out some of the thicker spots a little bit, so I can get back to filming the video as quick as possible. There you go. Alright, good enough for rock and roll. There you go. You got a nice flagstone base. And this brown tone is basically just to set kind of the basis, the nice basis of dirt tone for the model there. Alright, so there we are. Let's come back when it's dry. Ready? It's going to take this long. Alright, it's all dry. So there we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start airbrushing our flagstones. So I got two grays here. I got a base coat and a highlight, and so they are sea gray, just a nice kind of dark gray, pretty equivalent to GW Dawnstone, and then barley gray, which is just a little bit brighter gray, kind of like an administratum gray, but not as white. So here we go. We're gonna do those two. So shake that up. Break out my airbrush. I'm working on an Iwata Eclipse HPCS. Pretty fabulous little airbrush, and then just a standard compressor with a tank down there. So start off with the sea gray, the darker gray here. Let's just load up the cup a little bit. Beautiful. And then what we're gonna do, grab our base and do some airbrushing. Now the goal is to just kind of get a nice base coat down. So I'm trying to avoid the dirt, leave that brown. And the brown here is giving us a nice, like the areas where the airbrush is a little bit translucent and it's creating a little bit of filter, and the brown is still sticking through, gives us that nice dirty look on this stone. There we go. Alright, let's just keep rock and rolling. My little compressor just kicked on, that's what that noise is, no worries about that. Oops. Alright, so there you go. So that is the first layer of gray there. I'm going to go wash out my airbrush and we'll get out the next highlight color. Next up we got that barely gray. Let's go ahead, put that in our airbrush and get some highlights going. Alright, just a little bit there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of focus around the outside edges of the stones. Just to create a little bit of a highlight. We want to leave the middle a little bit darker. Catch all the edges. There we go. Fabulous. So there you go, just a little bit of a highlight around the edges of that. What we'll do now is actually just get out a darker gray and just push the contrast a little bit by increasing the shadows. Alright, so I got this black gray by Vallejo Model Air, and what I'm going to do is, I've already got it loaded into my airbrush, so I'm actually going to water it down a little bit just to thin it out. So I'm not getting solid coverage. It's going to be a little bit thinner and go on a little bit translucent. And hopefully lessen the overall impact of this on the entire model. So just a little bit of a shadow. Just come on over there, put it in the dark spots of these. So again, my focus is going to be the middle of each of the stones and then maybe some of the bottom edges. Push that contrast. Aiming like underneath this flagstone to really get some depth here. Let's give you a nice close-up. I'm just pushing the contrast just a little bit more. There you go. So that really helped us out with the contrast there. Really like the direction we're going. So let's move on and start painting the dirt. So my airbrush is all cleaned up. What we're going to do is come in with a nice brown. This is Mahogany by Vallejo Model Air. Got it loaded up in my pot here. It's a little bit of a reddish brown. And the goal here is to now make the flagstones look a little bit dirty. We also got some gray onto our brown sand and dirt. So we want to go back in and fix that, okay? So the idea here is to get rid of all the gray on the sand as well as put a little bit of brown back onto the flagstones to dirty it up a little bit. So here we go. Just come in, get different angles because the sand likes to block block the paint from the airbrush from getting all the crevices. So you really got to move it around to make sure you're really getting everything covered. So I have some little patches of sand up top as well. Let's make sure we get those. And I'm okay with the overspray on this. The reason we got gray onto the brown is not because we weren't being careful, but because the airbrush just has a natural overspray. And so now we can actually use the overspray to our advantage. And the effect that creates is just that the dirt's just wearing away and it's just staining the stone. Alright, so again, making sure we get all the angles. Really got to rotate this around. because the sand is all gritty and likes to block everything from being touched by the airbrush. Alrighty, so now that I've got all the sand brown, I'm just gonna evaluate, look around for maybe spots that I want to look a little bit dirty. So this area here, I got big chunks taken out of the flagstones. Maybe they've been pushed around and gotten dirty, so let's just throw a little brown staining on there. Maybe this one on the top as well. And then for the most part, I definitely want it to be coming up the sides where the actual dirt is. So there we go. I think I'm happy with that. Not bad. So we got a little bit of that staining coming in. Now the next step will be to really bring up the layers of color on the dirt to make it look real dirt-like and a little more realistic. And so we're going to do some dry brushing. So we're going to do one layer of dry brushing on the dirt and then one layer of dry brushing on the entire thing to really catch all the edges and make it pop. So let's get our paints out for that and see what we're going to do. Here we are, all ready to dry brush. So I've got kind of an old school GW large dry brush here, and so I'm just going to use this as my weapon of choice. And then the paint that we're going to start with is XV88 by GW. So there you go. Now what I like to do, and the reason that I have this here, is because I actually like to load my paint out right onto a piece of paper towel when I'm doing dry brushing. Spread it out, spread it around, get that brush nice and dry, and then let's dry brush all of the dirt areas. So it's a little bit too wet, so I'll just dry it off a little bit more. And just catch the top edges of all these rocks, start to give it some nice definition. Now I'm also okay if I catch the flagstone a little bit, because we want that, we're going for that ruined old look, and so we're cool to get dirty, be sloppy a little bit. Don't get too sloppy now, but yeah, but be sloppy, allow that paint to get places, and just push that dirty old ruin look. Great, get under this crevice here, under this fallen flagstone. Some dirt on the edge of this guy. Beautiful. Notice me just use my finger to clean up a spot where I didn't want the paint. So I just wiped it off with my thumb. Load my brush a little bit more. Look how easy that was. Alright, well, let's get ready with the next color. But I think we're looking pretty good. So here, you want to get right up close. Boom, so you can see some of that definition in there. Starting to pop. Let's keep pushing it. Pushing the contrast. Alright, so the next step is to come in with a real light beige and a real light dry brush and just catch all the edges. So for this, we're going to be using Ushabti Bone by Games Workshop. Alright, and I've already got my paint loaded out onto my paper towel. I want to make sure my brush is nice and dry. You can always add more paint to this, but it's hard to take it off. So that's the idea. And we'll just start by lightly dry brushing the whole model. And so we'll notice that, you know, throughout the process, a little bit of pieces of sand kind of stuck to some of the flagstones, like one piece here or there. And this dry brush layer right here is really pulling those out and just accenting those kind of rogue stones a little bit, which is really completing the look. Catch all the edges between these different layers here. Really get sand underneath. Load up my brush a little bit more. Catch some of this sandy area, or the dirt area. Alright, just be very liberal with this on all the flagstones as well. Get some more paint. I think we're a little too wet. Get dry. Beautiful. So this is really starting to come to life here. Really popping. The contrast is really showing, and this is starting to turn into some realistic dirt. And the flagstones as well. Yeah, the flagstones, the beige against that kind of blue-gray really makes it pop. And I think just some careful last-minute touch-ups. I think with that, we're actually in a really good place. So look how that really just pulls everything together. Our dirt looks amazing, our flagstones look amazing, and they look like they've all been aging together. They're not just like two totally separate realities from each other. Now everything looks like it is unified together, one solid theme. Now we're going to keep working on this, and so let's pull out some washes to push the aged effect a little bit further. Alright, I'm ready to do some washing. So I got my Null Oil gloss here. I always use the gloss ones because I find the regular matte washes are broken. They don't work properly. I always get this weird white cloudiness inside the crevices, which is the total opposite of what I want, because I always want the crevices to be dark. So when it gets cloudy and turns white, I get really upset and angry. So I just started using the gloss washes because it never does that. So there you go. Pro tip. The gloss washes are the bomb. So here we go. So the idea with this is to just create a little bit more of that aged, weathered look. So I just got kind of like a regular working brush here. I think it's a GW medium layer. And what I'm gonna do is all these cracks and stuff that we kind of put in with our hobby knife on these, which, by the way, if you haven't checked out the video, you can learn how to make one of these in last week's video. And then I'm just going to push that wash right into the crevices and then streak it across the flagstones a little bit. Alright, let's really push that one a little bit further. Alright, so this one, I kind of glued these ones a little bit close together, so the paint kind of globbed in between them. Now you just put a little line in there, and it really shows the separation again between those flagstones. Alright, so yeah, we're just trying to look to put in just little water stains, streak marks, anything we can do to kind of create a little bit of a definition between the piles of dirt and the flagstones, as well as add some weathering effects. Cool. So yeah, it's really working for me here. Maybe a little bit heavy, so I'm just wiping some off with my finger. Definitely in this area where there's a lot of broken stones, I want to make sure the chunky areas where it's been broken off really get some wash. Make sure we maintain some definition there. Oops. Yeah, let's create like a little water streak there. Put some back between the layers on the sides. Alright, and then maybe we'll just work with this stone right here a little bit more. Put some in this crack. Darken that edge. Maybe put some water streaks coming down. Use my finger there just to soften them a little bit. That's all that was. Fabulous. Alright, so that, as you can see, again, it just adds one more. You could totally skip that if you want, but just adds that extra level of definition that, like, why would you not just spend, what did we spend? I don't know, 30 seconds, 1 minute, because I was explaining things as it was going, to really just do one more amazing little detail on these bases. So now what we're going to do is we're coming up to the finishing stages of these this base here. What we're going to do is add some little bits of grass that is growing, and then we're going to pull out some little flower bunches by Gamer's Grass. I'm going to teach you guys how to apply those onto a base. So there you go. Well, we're almost done this flagstone base here. Alright, so here we are all set up to apply some static grass. So what I got is some PVA glue and then a 1 liter jar of static grass that I've accumulated over the years. And so what I'm going to do, just grab this PVA glue and let's get some out on our palette. Nice little glob there. Beautiful. That's probably all we'll need. Probably way more than enough. Alright, and now just take our paintbrush. What we're going to do is strategically aim for little areas where just grass would have started to grow. Okay, so just get some glue on, we'll go around the whole base, and we'll just do a bunch of little patches of grass. Kind of aiming for some corners, get some in the open areas as well. Just little patches of grass. Now I want the glue to be nice and thick, because the static grass is essentially a whole bunch of little twigs, and so we really want a whole nice thick glob for those things to grab onto. So what I'm going to do is, even these little bits of sand that are up here, just put like tiny little dots, so to kind of represent the grass growing up in those little patches of dirt, because this has been ruined for a while and now some new growth is starting to come in. Alright, maybe a little bit on the back area of this base here. Let's layer that up just a little bit thicker. Down in here. Cool. Yeah, let's put a little bit in there as well. Alright, make sure you clean off your brush. You'll be very upset with yourself if you do not do that. And so now, essentially what we're going to do is just dip this guy in here and get static grass all over those clumps of glue. So I'm actually here, I'm going to pull out clumps and shove it in, because some of this stuff is deep in the corners here. I want to make sure I get it. Alright, so I got some on all of those clumps. I'll just tap the bottom so it goes back into the jar. I can save some of this stuff and reuse it. Just keep going static grass crazy. Alright, now let's get the other side of the base. Just kind of loosen it up and drop it on the areas where I want it. Alright, so we did pretty good. Now you'll notice this stuff, even, it just gets all over everything and it just sticks to it. That's why they call it static grass. It just kind of sticks to things, it just clings to everything. A little extra dip on that one, thicken it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blow the rest of the grass off. The stuff that's not actually stuck to glue will disappear when I blow it. There we go. Beautiful. So this is really getting some character now. You can see it's really starting to develop that overgrown, ruined, regrowth look. Okay, so let's pull open our flower tufts by Gamer's Grass and learn how to apply those. Alright, so we are ready for the Gamer's Grass flower tufts. So here they are, still in the packaging. It's a mixed flower set, so it actually comes with 4 different colors, which I think is really awesome. And you get a whole bunch of each. And so let me just pop this open. can see here, kind of get 4 squares of 4 different colors. So we got some nice like baby's breath daffodils, some like purple lilacs, I don't know, red tulips or something, yellow tulips. And so I think for this base, what we'll do is I kind of want some of the more funky fun ones. So take this like pinky red and maybe some of these white ones, because as you can see on my sample model here, I already have some green shrubs and some yellow flowers, and so I want a nice variety on all my bases. Just realized I made a big mistake. I put this whole thing in a giant pile of white glue. That's alright. Just move it off to the side there. And so I'm going to grab my paintbrush and actually take some of this white glue and put it where it's supposed to go. And we're going to make a nice big glob right here. Right there on the base. Kind of strategically place these. I think I'm going to put 3 tufts in total on this base. So I'm going to put one right there. I'm going to put one right there, nice big globs. And then I'm going to put one on this big patch of dirt right here at the back. Alright, so again, wash off your paintbrush, the PVA glue paintbrush, or else you'll be upset. And now, let's take the sheet of flowers, put our base down for a second, and what you can do is just kind of pinch one of these off. Be very careful, just like pinch and peel it off the sheet. I think I grabbed 2 there. Yeah, those 2 are stuck together, so instead of fighting with it in the video, just grab a new one. Alright, so we have this little tuft of flowers here. What we're going to do is let the PVA glue stick that down onto our base. So I notice this one is a little bit wider, so I'm actually going to make my little drop of PVA glue a little bit wider as well, to kind of fit the shape of this gamer's grass. Flower tuft here. Alright, so we got it. We got the shape, and now literally all you do is just stick it down on there. Beautiful. Just use your fingers and just stick it down. Awesome. So let's grab one more. Nice little flower tuft. We'll do a white one again. Why not? One of these smaller ones, and then I'll stick this white one down on that little patch of glue on the back of the base. Super easy. Beautiful little patch of flowers. Alright, look at that. So now the pink one's really going to make this base pop. And so let's grab that sheet and let's kind of find a nice little one here. Awesome. Found the one that's the shape and size that I want. Let's peel it off. Beautiful. Now I'll stick it on the last remaining area of white glue, just waiting for a little flower patch. Alrighty. Now that is a cool looking base. That just completes the picture. Those gamer's grass flowers really making it fit into that kind of old fantasy theme. That kind of yeah, just that fantasy look. Just cool little flowers around an ancient ruins. So let me pull out the model. He's not painted yet, but you'll see where he fits on the base. And he would go just at the back here, leaping over that wall into that flower patch right there. And so you can imagine with this guy all painted up, looking slick and fresh, this is going to be a really characterful model right there. He's just going to fit right into the battle scene. And so there we are with that. Now there's one last stage we have to do for every base, and when you don't do it, it just takes something that could look really awesome and makes it look unfinished. And all that is going around the edge, and all that work we've been doing just created a mess around there. We're just going to paint it black again to give it a nice clean finished look. So let's just pull out our black paint and use a paintbrush that is readily available. Give her a shake. Get that out on your palette. So you can see, just like base coating, so just add a little bit of water. We don't need a too thin coat this Duncan style. We just one thick coat it all the way around. Beautiful. You can see it already as it's going. I mean, you don't even need to wait for this to dry to understand what's happening here. You're seeing it happen right in front of your eyes. It's just cleaning it up, getting rid of the mess, and really putting this model on a nice pedestal. So there you go. So that'll dry nice, clean, and black and crisp. And there we go. We have one finished Flagstone base. Folks, that is it for today. That is everything you need to know to make. So last week we did build the Flagstone base. This week we did paint the Flagstone base, and you can see that is just super cool right there. You can really bring your fantasy, Age of Sigmar, 40K, whatever game you're playing, your models to life just by making and painting some custom bases of your own, using neat little tools like static grass, simple materials you have laying around kind of any craft store or dollar store in the foam core, and just some sand. You know, you got all the things, the simple little tools to make some really cool bases. So folks, if you like that video, love if you just go down there and click subscribe and hit the little bell below as well, so that you know when we release future videos. And then everybody, if you really like this video, if you found this helpful, you can totally support us and everything we do here at the channel by going down to the video description, hitting our Patreon link, and for as little as $1 a video, you can support everything we do here at the channel. That's all the terrain tutorials, painting tutorials, bat reps, just all the stuff. We just love doing stuff for you guys, and your support would be awesome to help keep this all going. So everybody, that's it for today, and we will see you at our next encounter.
Like a monkey in a rocket on his way back home. Okay.